7 o'clock. So I will call this meeting of the Social and Economic Justice Commission for the City of Albany to order. Laura, if you would call the roll, please.
In. Did you say here? There's Commissioner Vanin.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
There you are. We're good. Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo.
Here, thank you.
There you are. Commissioner Grossman.
Here.
Commissioner Cannoli.
I am here.
Commissioner Lindsay.
I'm here too.
Commissioner Zapata.
Here.
And Chair Dosty.
Here. I think you're a little bit faint, Laura.
Oh, am I?
You're okay now, but at the beginning you certainly were.
Okay, I'll speak up a little bit.
Next is approval of the minutes. Any discussion, any amendments, alterations to the minutes, folks?
We do need to vote on those.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
If not, do we need to move it to be approved, or if we just vote?
No, we're
on
good.
it?
I'll just call the roll.
Okay.
Commissioner Bainin? You're on mute still, I think. I got you that. Oh no, you're not. You said it. Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo.
Yeah, the minutes, I was just wanting to add in there that I never got a chance to speak on, was that 6-2, 2 meetings ago? Something, housing, and that's
Something
it.
in the minutes related to that?
Yeah, just confirming that, I didn't really get a full chance to get to item 6-2.
Oh, and okay, I'm gonna note that down, but you're right, Chair Dosty, we actually do need a motion and a second for the minutes, so, because we forgot to do that in one of the past meetings, but we're doing it today.
Okay.
So Commissioner Garrett, do you remember when in the meeting that was? Because
Yeah, it was kind of throughout the meeting. I had mentioned that I never got a chance to talk about 6-2 from the previous meeting.
you mean that it wasn't on the agenda?
Yeah, the Homeless Housing Subcommittee. It's a report.
We're doing that.
Right.
Um,
Right. It is on the agenda tonight. It was not able to get onto the last agenda. Do you want that noted in the minutes for the last agenda that
Correct.
it was not on the agenda?
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
do we have a motion?
We do not yet.
Move to approve the minutes as amended.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Right. Commissioner Bainin.
Yes.
Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo.
Abstain.
Commissioner Grossman.
And abstain too. These minutes don't say anything.
Commissioner Cannoli.
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsay.
Yes.
Commissioner Zapata.
Yes.
And Chair Dosty.
Yes. Minutes are approved with 2 abstentions. Next, we have public comment. If members of the public would like to comment on an item not on the agenda for today, you will have 3 minutes each. Per the Brown Act, we can't discuss things that aren't on the agenda of this meeting. We can briefly respond, but we can't take them on and discuss them. But you are welcome to give public comment now. And I see at least 2 hands. So Laura, if you would start moving members of the public.
All right. Paul, are you able to speak?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Commissioners, can me. Hi, I'm from Berkeley. I was invited to this meeting by Jeremy. I met Jeremy while I was out in the streets. I have numerous roles in Berkeley. I am president of the East Bay Media Center. I'm also the current CEO of Consider the Homeless. Our founder recently died. Amongst the things that we do at Consider the Homeless is deliver food to 150 people twice a week And then we also just deliver soup to 150 people twice a week. And I'm not entirely sure what Jeremy wanted me to address other than introducing Consider the Homeless. And you can see our site at considerthehomeless.org and find out what it is that we're doing. I think that one thing that Jeremy and I both considered, and Consider the Homeless continues to think this, is that there should be collaborative efforts between the cities. I also chaired the Berkeley Mental Health Commission for 2 straight years, and that is the Berkeley-Albany Berkeley Health Commission. And we collaborated, and Albany actually had we have a member from Albany on the Berkeley Mental Health Commission. There are so many issues as adjoining cities that we share. And I guess what I wanted to do was open up the door to Consider the Homeless, to specifically this commission, and offer our assistance or feedback on any programs, in the development of any programs, or comment on any of the programs that you propose and that are passed by your city council. This, as I said, this is my first visit to this commission. I have numerous roles that I can disclose more as I get to know the commission better. And that's basically what I wanted to do, act as an introduction to considerthehomeless.org. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comment. Yes, I see a hand from Commissioner Grossman. Is it an immediate response? Or can it wait? You're on mute though.
Paul, this is Bart Grossman. I used to be a member of the commission.
I know who you are, Bart.
Yeah. Paul, I'm not sure you're aware. We were told some months ago that we no longer are entitled to receive service from Berkeley Mental Health.
I was aware of that.
I don't understand then why we have a member on the commission, on the Berkeley Commission. There's an inconsistency there, and I just want to note that for future discussion here. We do have mental health on the agenda.
Yes, we'll look at that further when we get to it later on the agenda. Thank you for putting that on. We'll continue with public comment, please, Laura.
Hi, can you hear me? Yes, good.
Yes, we can.
I know that there's now I'm going to be talking about the Albany Police Department. I know that there's now a task force, and it's probably where I'm supposed to take this, but I just want to bring up the fact that Albany is hiring a new police officer. They've just put out something hiring, and I'm concerned that I think these positions should be frozen until it's figured out how we can better serve the city of Albany without always having a uniformed person with a gun strapped to their leg to show up for any kind of event. So I just wanted to bring it up. And then I also wanted to bring up the language that I signed up for the e-notifications from the Albany Police Department, and the language is incredibly racist to start with, and then just horrifying, I guess I would say. Each thing is called suspicious circumstance. I don't know if you've seen them, but the way that they describe it is just, it's just the assumptions that are built into the description. Everything about it is just so not trauma-informed, not a person-centered, not a non-racist way of approaching it. So I don't know if SEJC could take a look at the announcements from the police department, and then the description actually of the job itself. If you read the job description for the police, for the person they're hiring, it also has it's very slanted and is in a kind of punitive criminal legal system carceral system way, and I'm sorry to see that too. So I know that I should go to the other meeting too, but I know that SEJC has talked about the police in the past, and I was hoping that you would at least be concerned enough to take a look. So thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Not seeing other public comment hands raised, I'll give it a second, and then I have a brief response. Okay, closing public comment then. I would just briefly say, Julie, that I think it's important to get the way the police department is creating their own language, and that we shouldn't filter it for them, because that creates a false image of how they're doing and how they think about things. And that being able to see it in their language is insight into where they're at. But I definitely hear those concerns. Anything else? Any other brief responses to public comment? Seeing none. Jeremiah? Commissioner Garrett Cabela?
Thank you, Chair Dotsie. I was wondering, Paul mentioned somebody works with them in Albany regarding that. I was just wondering if maybe we could get the name or know who that person is from Albany that's working with Berkeley. That was all.
Right. We will discuss that as part of 6-4, the mental health services section. But we will specifically look to get that name. Okay. And item 4, announcements. I have a number of announcements. So I will start. First off, happy Pride. Happy Pride Month to all. As part of Pride, there are a number of online and local events. I mean, San Francisco, the Queer and Women of Color Media Arts Project has a film festival based in San Francisco, but hosted online this year. That will be June 11th through 13th, so a little earlier in the month than Pride traditionally is. So look out for that. Speaking about early in the month, this Thursday, so in 2 days, on the 3rd, there is a We Take Care of Us, a deep dive into the movement to decriminalize mental health and skin color workshop done by the Justice Teams Network and the Anti-Police Terror Project in Oakland, talking about macro cahoots, ways to move mental health services out of police, away from carcerality, and into anti-racist and racial equity frameworks. It should be really great. It's from noon to 3:30, and that is online again. So look for We Take Care of Us with Justice Teams Network and Anti-Police Terror Project. On the 19th is Juneteenth, which is the anniversary of when Black enslaved folks learned that they had been freed via the Emancipation Proclamation months earlier. There will undoubtedly be events online regarding that, so look out for those. And the Community Task Force on Policing is meeting now. The first meeting was held last month. The next meeting will likely be looking at police oversight as well as specific goals for the task force. It will be on June 15th at 7 p.m., which is a Tuesday. Other announcements. I see Commissioner Zapata.
Yeah, I was, excuse me, I was just looking up. I know you'd mentioned months earlier, but it was actually years earlier. It was 2.5 years earlier. So just, I think something important to remember about Juneteenth. But I wanted to just share that on the corner of Marin and San Pablo, the folks that organized the sign holding are going to be out there, and now they've turned it into a Dismantle White Supremacy rally that happens the first Thursday of the month at 5:30 on San Pablo. San Pablo and Buchanan, or I think it's San Pablo and Buchanan or San Pablo and Marin. I guess they're putting Buchanan now. So that's at 5:30, and it's turned into a monthly thing. And it's so it's here in the city of Albany. If anyone wants to join tomorrow. And I don't know, Jeremiah, if you're going to talk about the laundry program, but I've been really incredibly, I don't know what the word is, encouraged when I walk by the laundry program. It's literally maybe 5 houses away from my house on Talbot. And every Thursday I go by on my way to the sign holding thing and see the amazing work that Jeremiah, Margie, lots of the folks are doing in the city of Albany. I was very happy to see Council Member McQuaid visiting about 2 weeks ago the program. There are people that frankly are living out of their cars and do not have access to laundry facilities that are accessing the program. And it is incredibly moving, to be honest. And also I wanted to say that Jeremiah had gotten the people that bring out the free cell phones. I'm not sure if we talked about this last time, but and also there was a lot of food there that Jeremiah had organized, boxes of food right in front of the laundromat. So just, deep appreciation and a recognition and an announcement that that's happening in our city.
Thank you for those extra details. Those are great to hear, and I don't think we had heard them before. I see Commissioner Cannoli and then Commissioner Garrett-Pinguela.
Happy Juneteenth, everyone. I'm super excited that it is this month, the 19th. A couple of things. I do want to talk about the laundry program. I hope this gets on the agenda, and I really hope that this gets pushed to get more funding, because I know a lot of people that need this program, and I think it's a phenomenal program that Margie Marks and Commissioner Pinguela does host. So I am all for it. I definitely agree with Zapata. 2, yes, it's Pride Month, and happy Pride Month as well. And I'm a little frustrated just because there are rainbows everywhere in the city of Albany, but there's nothing for Juneteenth, not even for Black Lives Matter. So that's really frustrating to me, being a Black woman. And we can definitely praise Pride and all that, but we can't put anything in the state of Albany that has anything to do with Juneteenth or Black Lives Matter. So hopefully that changes very soon. I think that is all my announcements.
Thank you. Commissioner Garrett-Pinguela.
Thank you. So we heard from Paul from Consider the Homeless earlier. And one of the things that possibly they might be helping out with Albany is adding Thursdays during the laundry program. It's possibly going to be the delivering soup as part of their route. Also, every Wednesday, this teamwork nonprofit is called The Village, and they deliver food from Agave Restaurant every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Right on Albany's Welcome Mat on 8th Street in Harrison. It's a really great program. Also, the Berkeley Cop Watch has a little pamphlet that they're giving out to everybody. And so I was just saying that's a really good thing. Also, if anybody's interested in food pantries, there's also the food pantry on Cedar in Sacramento, the Friends Church. It's open to Albany and Berkeley residents. You need to bring your California ID and show proof of your address. And it's for residents, not specifically homeless or unhoused people, but just for anybody. And the food there is Whole Foods, Sprouts, Trader Joe's, and Costco donations, Alameda Food Bank. Also, the Food Network is on 9th Street and University in Berkeley, and that's open to Albany Albany residents as well. And there's another program that is willing to help out Albany, and they are right now putting water tanks in Berkeley. And so they're willing to share a water tank in Albany, so we don't have to pay for it. Also, yes, the laundry program is been a wonderful thing. Yes, one of those people that at the social services office, they have the free phones if you have a Medi-Cal card or food stamp card. They did come to the laundry program and 9 people from the laundry program got free phones 2 weeks ago. So it was really successful. It was really nice to see everybody smile on the face, getting free phones and free laundry, and just networking. That was wonderful. And last but not least, the shower program, that's still work in progress, I guess. I have the keys to a shower trailer and the truck that tows it. And so as soon as we get a simple permission from the city of Albany City Council, I have a shower trailer I could bring to Albany 7 days a week. I have the keys right here. So just waiting on that shower program, and hopefully that could be on a future agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Nothing from staff. Okay. Oh, that was what I was going to say. I believe Juneteenth is being made into a holiday for the city of Albany's employees, but that has not been finalized in all of the negotiations as of yet. But certainly there are no actual advertisements, celebrations, depictions, right? It's not a public facing thing. And that the rainbows were done by a small group of parents, LGBTQ plus parents, and parents of LGBTQ plus children, and went before the city council to be approved, even though it is usually the sort of thing that would not require city council approval because it was a political topic or something. So further context on that. Okay, that ends announcements, and we don't have a presentation today. Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo, yes?
Yeah, just last announcement. I wrote it down. I had just forgot to read it. The Albany Fire Department helped me out yesterday. And I just want to say thank you for the Albany Fire Department. And just to let staff know, everything went through the proper channels. And, I didn't get no special treatment or anything. Everything went through the proper channels, and it was a success. So keep up the good work, Albany Fire Department. Thank you very much.
They helped you out with, could I ask what with?
It's a personal matter, but maybe we could talk about that somewhere else. But yeah, the fire captain did a great job. So I just want to give a shout out for them. Keep up the good work. Sorry, Chair Dotsie.
Sorry, I wasn't totally sure if I missed something, but thank you for the clarification. Okay. Moving on to 6-1, so review of the commission work plan. This is the meeting where we need to finish and submit a draft of the work plan to be approved by council. And per last meeting, and I believe it was maybe a couple of your suggestions, I think it was Cannoli and Lindsay specifically, we were to brainstorm and come back with our top 2 or 3. I thought it was 3, but the minutes said 2, but and that's where we're going to start today. I do also think we have a number of required items, Laura, that we have to cover as part of our charge already from the city, such as the sugar sweetened beverage tax, the housing element, the tax exemptions, rent review, CARES, HOPE, and any multifamily housing proposal reviews. Is that your understanding as well?
I'm not sure about the word required, but I can double check and get back to you.
Okay. Those I was assuming would go on our work plan, as council's already asked us to do this, and they come up once a year or once a quarter, or when a multifamily housing proposal arises, which is not very often. So those I think are probably going to be on our work plan, but not as significant as the things that we are bringing to the table. And we can discuss that as well. But yes, let's get into discussing the work plan, what we've brought, and what we want to do. I see Commissioner Zapata and then Grossman.
I would like to suggest a process that we go through, which is that I suggest we go around, everyone goes and says their 2 things. And then afterwards, if there's some noticings that people have of overlap, or they would like to work with someone else, then we talk about that. I know public comment is also important to have in the process, but just to have this is so important. And it's something I think we're all deeply concerned about getting done tonight. So I know I have my 2, and I'm really interested in just a very clear process. This is what we are doing, and this is how we're doing it. So my suggestion is that everyone has uninterrupted time to speak. We go through, perhaps, I don't know where public comment falls in there, Chair Dostie, maybe you do, and then we talk about ways that we're going to perhaps dovetail or build on each other's work or be involved in one another's work, and then finalize it. That's not a motion. Unless I don't know if I'm supposed to make it a motion, but I'm just making a suggestion about our process.
Sure. And I think I've been looking at different possible facilitation things that don't involve chats or other written resources. Sort of shows of hands and number of fingers agreement with how good that sounds is a possibility. So 5 fingers if that sounds really good, 4 if it sounds pretty good, 3 if you're kind of about it, 2 if you could, and 1 if you don't super agree. That sort of thing. So if we find that useful, we could try being like, how much do we agree with Commissioner Zapata's idea right now? Seeing at least 1 strong agree, like 4 or 5 strong agrees. Okay. All of us appear to strongly agree, and that's nice to be able to do without having to do a roll call, and I think it's still transparent and great. Figuring out the Zoom and everything. Okay, so we can go in alphabetical order by last name like we usually do, and we'll do our 2. And I see that Commissioner Grossman still has a hand up, and so I'll hear from you first. Yes.
Well, if that's what we're going to do, actually, that's what I wanted to do. So if you don't mind, I could put a couple of items on the from the work plan up. I've done some thinking about possible language for what we should do about them. Would that be in order, Chair Dostie?
I thought she said we were going to go alphabetical.
They.
Hey.
Yes.
They them.
Thank you, Commissioner Zapata.
Yes, I thought they said we were going to go alphabetical.
Yeah, just to be. I was saying alphabetical, but if you feel very strongly that you should set the floor, I'm amenable to that.
I don't mind going alphabetical, whatever makes sense to you.
Okay. I think we'll do alphabetical. So your 2 items and just some time to talk about what you think should be on the work plan. Starting with Commissioner Boehner.
Okay, yeah. So I really like a lot of these items that we have proposed, and they all seem like pressing things that need to get done. But kind of the ones I'm super interested in are the task force. So I've kind of been formulating like a group at the high school, which is like really interested in this topic and kind of exploring it more right now, coming up with ideas. And I think that's a great thing to include in our work plan, so we can discuss it here. And then I also really like the idea of a housing forum and the possibility of adding that. I think that's something that would be super helpful for the city of Albany and something that's definitely needed. So those are kind of my 2 big things, but I like almost all of these things on this work plan.
Could we get the numbers of the items that you liked?
Oh yeah, of course. So number 6 and number 20.
Okay.
And these numbers are from the work plan item attachment under 6-1.
Yes.
You finished?
Yeah.
Just to make totally sure. Thank you. Next in the alphabet is Commissioner Garrett Pinguillo. You are still muted.
Thank you. I didn't realize that. Yeah, I was going to defer till later. Just give me a minute, please.
Sure. Then Commissioner Grossman.
Okay, well, then I want to nominate two, but I also want to mention a third one, which I think needs to be finished. So first, my first choice, my first one would be mental health, which appears in two different places on this list. It's 26, and it's also 8. What I would like to suggest as possible language is something along the lines of investigate quality and equitable availability of mental health services, including mobile crisis in Albany, and make recommendations to council regarding needs and funding. The current charge we have about mental health is simply to listen to reports. That's not adequate. We need to be active, not passive, and so I would suggest that we engage in a real investigation on mental health, and I do continue to feel that we're not being given the information we need about what's going on in mental health. And I thought Paul's comments earlier were very interesting, because on the one hand, we're being told we're not part of Berkeley Mental Health, but on the other hand, in practice, there's somebody from Albany on the commission. So what's going on there? The other thing I'm curious about in mental health is if in fact Berkeley was never receiving Albany's money for mental health services, who was? And where did that money end up? So that mental health, I think, needs a lot of attention. Then on housing, I would like to amend the language somewhat to suggest that we review new proposals for housing for affordability, equity, and reparation opportunity for previously redlined groups. So all new proposals, I think, in Albany need to be reviewed according to those criteria, and not just whether or not they have 15% affordability. And also, as we know, affordability means all kinds of things these days. So the third item I want to mention is we never finished last year the work on aging. We made some recommendations. They went to staff. They never went any further. They never were put on a council agenda. So I would want us to submit the reports and recommendations for elder-friendly city, including participation in the World Health Organization initiative on aging-friendly cities. And I think people need to take a look at that when we get to that item. We did a lot of work on aging-friendly cities, and I don't know why it never got finished, but I would like to see us put some energy behind it. Those are the ones I want to push.
I'm sorry, but what numbers are those? 26 and 8 was the behavioral health one.
Was the mental health one.
Yeah, mental health.
Housing is number 1. I'm not sure if aging.
There's a 17 that mentions aging.
Aging in place strategic plan.
Sort of the closest one to what you were saying,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Sort of reworded, but yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. Okay.
Great, thank you. I realized I skipped myself in the alphabet because I was just like, oh, I'm always last, which I guess is fine. I don't want to always have the last word. We'll see if Commissioner Garrett Pinguillo wants to go before or after me. Next in the alphabet is Commissioner Cannoli.
I wait for Garrett Pinguillo, or?
No, I think we'll come to him at the end of the alphabet again, and then it'll be if he wants to go before or after me.
Cool. So I do agree with Commissioner Grossman in regards to housing. We do definitely need to figure out what we can do for affordability, rent relief. And so basically, I think number 7, which is making a recommendation regarding COVID responses on the following, which is the rent relief, the public showers program. I think that we're still behind on rent in the city of Albany. So I think housing is definitely my number 1, and that could include, like I said, rent relief, public showers program, and maybe, let's see, maybe like a food program, but like we can figure out like a language there. I actually have 3 too. The second one would be like the diversity report card and survey on inclusivity. We need to figure out maybe programs, because again, there's 3% of us meaning Black people, and 15% in Albany of Hispanics. So I think that needs to be definitely figured out, and maybe we can figure out like verbiage, maybe programs or a fund or something that we can come up with so that we do have more of us in this community. I do, again, I know we talked about this, the sugar sweetened tax beverage. I'm going to continue to talk about it until we get all of the numbers. I mean, we have gotten the numbers, but it's kind of like, don't know what's really going on. And I would love to maybe put something into this use this tax beverage for the laundry program would be great. I know that it went to council, but there's like some discrepancies in regards to that. I'm not sure. And then I would, again, that it would maybe go to like rent relief or something. I mean, that's a wellness program too, just because without housing, I mean, what are we going to do? So, yeah, those are my 3. So number 25, just a clarification, number 25, 18. And I guess it's 1/7. I guess they kind of coincide with one another. If that makes any sense to any of you guys, but yeah.
Makes sense to me.
What was number 18?
Number 18 is diversity report card and survey on inclusivity.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And next is Commissioner Zapata.
Yeah, I see. Well, first of all, I would like to work on 22, working on a land acknowledgement, but the way that I see that is actually more fleshed out as being in relationship and getting Albany, which is kind of the ball that's starting to roll, of getting Albany in relationship with the Ohlone tribe. And actually there's still Mayor Gary and another council member have been reaching out. So that feels like the ball's rolling on that, and I'd love to continue to work on that. 22, and then I really appreciate, I think there is a lot of interesting overlap, and I don't know, I want to just kind of recognize what Commissioner Grossman said earlier, which is that the minutes really don't communicate very, very little, and actually in that way, like what's happening right now, I wish that we could see one another are proposing, because what you're saying, Commissioner Grossman, around the housing stuff that is not just 15% affordability, but actually is more of a reckoning, frankly, of the history of exclusivity and the history of racial discrimination and racism literally encoded into the city of Albany, I think is really important. And I think, even the housing forum, which, Commissioner Bainan talked about earlier, I think a lot of these have an interesting overlap. So perhaps we can talk about that. But I'm interested in what Commissioner Grossman talked about specifically in terms of housing that addresses the wrongs that have taken place. So those, I guess, are the 2 ones, is some amalgamation of these housing / racial equity measures, and then 22.
Thank you. And
Again, can I, what were the numbers there again?
1 for housing, I believe, and 22 for land acknowledgement, but more specifically being in relationship with the Ohlone tribe.
And 1 specifically about righting wrongs.
Correct.
Housing within that. Okay.
It was kind of building on Commissioner Grossman's, but it's frankly, it's actually probably some mix of what 6 is, 7 on some level, you know. So yeah.
Sort of a 1, 6, 7 amalgamation.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, maybe, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And as a reminder, these numbers are a sort of filtered from brainstorming 3 times removed. So these are not precise language items. The numbers are sort of for reference for our discussion purposes. And I skipped Commissioner Lindsay because you weren't in alphabetical order on my screen for some reason. So would you like to go, please?
Sure. I had a brutal time with this. I cut it down to 6 though. But 3 of them are in one category and 3 in another. So for me, it's economic and social justice. Those are the 2 things that I'm most interested in working on, that I think give us a lot of bang for the buck, where there's some low-hanging fruit things we could do in the short term, but there's also some things that we could do that are more transformative in the longer term. So in the first group, economic justice, it was 12, 14, and 15. But if I got to pick one of those 3, I would say 14, which is, for those who don't have this in front of them, which is, the audience, that can be very frustrating. 12 was Albany Cares. It seems like Albany Cares is doing some of this work, so that's why I included them. Like apparently the low income senior tax exemptions, like assistance, is happening through Albany Cares. So that's why I included that one. But 14 is provide input on outreach regarding low income senior tax exemptions. To me, it's not just about outreach though. There's a whole host of problems with the way we're handling that that need to get fixed by the next time. I guess it's too late for this year, but it's not too late to get it right for next year. And I just feel like, just in general, that it's a social and economic justice thing, but also this. At a fairly low cost, if we had somebody, or maybe if we're supporting a community group, might be the best way to do it fiscally. And maybe it would be even more effective than trying to ask city staff to do that in addition to everything else. That there was a clear place for people to go when they thought that they, probably deserve, rent relief, say, but there's a lot of these things in our local taxes and, other things. But let's just take rent relief, for example. There was just an article today that showed that a woefully small number are actually getting the state of California's rent relief. The money is going there untaken because of bureaucracy and because of unfriendly application process, things requiring proof that a lot of times people don't have, certain kinds of proof. So now there's a bill to shorten it, and I'm like, great, there's 30 days left or 45 days left for people. It's just, we got to get this right. So if we could have somebody whose job it was to not be completely overwhelmed, and you just go here, and here's what I got, and help me get through all this stuff. Probably could be a crap load of money into people's pockets, and people staying in their houses and not getting evicted and stuff. So that's what I see number 14 as. The other one, number 15, for those who don't have the sheet in front of them, is provide recommendation on equalizing tax burden and measures existing in future. That's part of economic justice. That somebody who has a $2 million house and somebody who has a $500,000 house pay the same amount on most of our taxes. You have a parcel, you pay the tax, instead of it being on square footage or some other measure that's more equitable. So that's number one is number 14, I guess. The second one was 18, 19, and 21. 18, that's the second set of them. Diversity report card and survey on inclusivity. I would add into that getting other statistics that are available from the city. So it's basically getting data that we can use then to sort of prove what we all know, but I don't think the typical person in Albany knows, which is that it's actually pretty bad out there for brown and black and Asian folk. But if you ask most people, they'd say, Albany? No, I'm sure it's mostly fine. And it's not. So we need the evidence of that. So that's why we need the survey so bad. And we also need statistics like ethnic breakdown of city staff, of teachers in Albany, of commissioners, things like that. And I'd like it by gender too, but at least by ethnicity. And then forming an anti-racism subcommittee or something more gently named, perhaps, that wouldn't make people uncomfortable. I don't know, or maybe just run with it. We can be brave instead of safe. I don't know. That's very attractive also. But if I have to pick one between 18, 19, and 21, I would pick 18. So my two, if I'm cutting it to two, it's 14 and 18.
Okay. And Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo, do you want to go before or after me?
You can go ahead if that's okay, if you're up for it.
That's totally fine. Wanted to give you the choice. So I got it down to 3 with 2 that I don't think we can do, that I dismissed because of that. So I'll start with, I don't know how we could do TNBI, trans, non-binary, intersex competency in healthcare services and policy. I don't know that we have any teeth to do that. I think I couldn't imagine a way. It's something very dear to me, but I still see it as, it feels still at the individual advocacy level. And I don't think there's enough momentum. And I actually ruled out mental health services because I don't know that we can do that. We maybe could research and advocate for more funding, but it seems less feasible than some other things. So those are the 2 I ruled out, but were in my I wish. My top 3 were, and it was 3, I'm sorry. Getting in right relationship with the Lijan Ohlone tribe, I think, is number 1 for me. In all of the ways that Vice Chair Commissioner Zapata has been leading in a really great way. And I'm really glad that we're making progress, and I think we need to continue because it will fall away if it's not on our work plan. So I think it does need to be institutionalized in our work plan. Second is homelessness and public health and hygiene services, covering public showers, restrooms, laundry, all of those sorts of things. I'm not sure that that's a tidy number. Sorry, Commissioner Lindsay. I was not really going off of the numbers when I thought of these, but I think it's sort of the homelessness task force one, which is in here somewhere. Control fine, number 5. And then it's sort of under 7, right? The public showers program. I think COVID especially makes that. And public hygiene stuff, access to restrooms, especially salient right now. And then my 3rd was the aging in place strategic plan, but making it a homebound strategic plan and a disabled in place as well as aging in place strategic plan, which I think would just be minor modifications. And I think that is almost done as the aging in place plan was developed. I've heard some from Margie Marks, who was previously on the SEJC, and it was pretty much finalized, just never sent in. And so I would like to take a look at it from a disabled perspective and see if I have anything to hopefully integrate and not just tack on, and then to submit that. I think that wouldn't take up a huge part of our workload and that it should go on the work plan. So those are my 3. Any questions about numbers, Commissioner Lindsay?
No, I got it. 22 and then sort of a 5-7 combo and a 17. I'm tracking this thing so I can, once we have it, I can tell people what the thing is.
That is very useful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Commissioner Garrett Pinguela.
Hi, thanks. So the ones that stand out to me, well, number 1 is very important. Number 3 is obviously really important. Finding funding for housing. Number 8, mental health services is very important as well. Number 18 and 19, I believe we're working on those together. And number 20, I know we were talking about the youth task.
You hit mute.
They are up for it, and I believe they're working on that as well.
Wait, can you repeat the last thing? Because
yeah, sorry about that. The city of Albany, Albany Unified School District is open for the youth task force, and they're ready for that as well. So I believe possibly they've already started. So we can work together on that. And also, so basically the ones that are very important to me is number 5. Recommend the development of a homeless task force. I know we're trying to create a subcommittee, so whatever we want to do with that would be great. We need to have something going on with homeless task force in Albany. Also, number 7, 7C specifically, like I mentioned, 7C, that's a turnkey operation, so that one's done. We can check that off the list because we already have the shower trailer ready. We just need permission from the city council for the public shower program to start. So 7C is ready. We got that one ready. Number 10, syringe exchange at Baldwin, Kansas Solano. So explore feasibility. There's a place on Alcatraz and Shattuck. I believe it's Berkeley Need, next to Hack. They have all the supplies for that, and I was specially trained. They trained me to help save someone's life with a Narcan nasal kit, and so I carry around with me in my car Narcan kits. So yeah, that'd be great. I actually have one of their business cards, so I could reach out to them, and I'll give you guys a follow-up. So number 10, that's ready to go. We got the people for that. Again, number 11, Cannabis Ex Ordinance. You know, I just know taxes for Albany would be great. You know, I mean, people are going to medicinally do this anyway. So if people are going to be doing this anyway, I guess the city might as well be making money on it somehow. And that money can go toward a specific or general fund or something. Also, number 12, Albany Cares, of course. I would love to be involved in that, which I already am involved in that. And 13, I'm already involved in that as well. So number 16, this is really important. I just want to make sure that goes well. And 24, 25, and 26. 24 is really important. If I've already started something with that, I kind of have a guide, and I would love to work with Chair Dotsie on the language, and we can work in collaboration. 25 and 26, sugar sweetened beverage tax. I would love to recommend, you know, a shower program. I know laundry is getting a really big voice, but I just want to give a shout out to the shower program. So my top ones are, you know, 5, 7C, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16. Oh, it's 16. I think 16 staff. Is that for staff? I don't know. I think one of them. Oh, and a question. What is number 23? TNBI days and weeks? I'm not sure what that
Yes. Sorry, that was one of my shorthand notes to myself. Trans, non-binary, and intersex.
Days and weeks. Okay.
There are international and local, like non-binary visibility day and international transgender awareness day and those sorts of things.
So we could suggest that to city council, make a recommendation to maybe be a city holiday or something, one of those days.
I think just proclamations sort of things so that people are aware they exist.
Okay. Well, let me know if anybody.
Hit mute again.
Number 22 is our subcommittee. So we're taking care of that.
All right, thank you.
I'm not sure how to, you named about 15 of them. We were supposed to name 2 or 3. So folks, do I just count that as all of those as like pros on all? I guess we could just do that. Right.
Yeah. If you would like to highlight your top 2 or 3, Commissioner Garrett Penguela, but I realize it's hard.
Yes, difficult. You know, to be honest with you, 1 through 26 are all very important for social and economic justice. But I mean, the ones I could physically go out and work on, you know, is 5, 7C, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 16.
Okay. And the ones you think all of those should be on our work plan? Because this is specifically what we're discussing, is that all of us should have it on our work plan for us all to work on together and for city council to approve for us to do, which is different from you can go out and make it happen, which is, I know, a talent of yours that I'm very impressed by. And it sounds like maybe that's what 10 is that you can just make this syringe exchange happen. It doesn't have to be the SEJCS to recommend it and all of that stuff. So which items would you want to be on the work plan for all of us to work on?
7C.
Mm-hmm.
And 24. And 26 and 8. That's it.
7C, 24, 26, and 8.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we have a couple of really obvious commonalities, some that everyone is pretty much on board with, which I think, yeah. The first thing I want to address, though, is from here is because also, right, like Commissioner Lindsay brought up CARES. I feel like receiving a review from CARES has been a charge given to us by council, or do you know if that's true? If that's how it was given to us. Commissioner Grossman, it looks like you.
Yeah, those things that report to us, CARES and Project Hope that we review, should appear on the work plan, but just as, receive a report and make recommendations to council if necessary. Those don't represent significant actions on our part unless we decide to make them a priority. So they should be on the list of things, but they're not priority items. I also wanted to mention that it's important that we keep in mind our role is policy and recommendations to council. So we can recommend the beginning of a program, but we don't do the program. That's a staff function, and we have to sort of be clear about that.
Thank you. I see Commissioner Zapata and then Lindsay.
Yeah, I know it's your meeting, Chair Dosty, but I have so appreciated the public comment, and I just wanted to make sure we got to that, because oftentimes, and I just really want to say, oftentimes they see things we don't. We're sort of in this world, and so I first of all, I really appreciate the 4 people who are here with us. There might be other people on YouTube, but I would love I respectfully wanted to call for, please do public comment.
Thank you. Seriously, that is a very welcome suggestion, and I think we will do that. Commissioner Lindsay, did you want to talk?
Yeah, I was just going to say, all those reports and recommendations, the problem is that they can eat up a ton of time. And that's time that you're not spending on higher priority items. I also want to say Commissioner Grossman's point on what our lane is. We can't order staff around. We can't order the council around. We can only make our case to the council. That's what we can do. We can possibly maybe raise some awareness in the city, and we might inspire people to do something, outside of, so there's a sort of indirect things we can do. But our primary role is to advise council. That's what that's what the job is. It's advise council. And we do just need to be aware with all the reports and stuff that, report and recommendation that, I don't know, we allocate a certain amount of time and stick to that baby like glue or something like that, so that we can prioritize and really achieve some stuff that we can look back at and be proud of. So that's all I had on that.
Thank you. Fair points. We will take public comment now. So this is public comment on 6-1, review of commission work plan, where we are hoping to finalize our draft to be presented to City Council. Laura, if you would start moving folks in.
Hello, this is Margie Marks. I wanted to say that there have been state and federal programs for rent relief. Unfortunately, as Commissioner Lindsay said, a lot of people have not been able to access the rent relief. And I think that's where it comes in. I would like you guys, when you say you don't want to just get the report from CARES, I would like you to look at CARES. CARES is the only social services just about in this city. It has one social worker who works 30 hours a week, so a 3/4 time person. There are over 20 police officers in this city, and presently the city has an opening for another police officer who makes starting pay $90,000 a year. And I just think we could do much better by our citizens by expanding CARES, getting social workers that could help people work through getting the access to the rent relief, work through the homeless issues, work through some of these other things, the mental health, to help with that, with the police. We could get more bang for our buck. Now, I don't think it's up to the SEJC to say, don't hire that policeman, hire 2 social workers, but I do think the SEJC could say, CARES we need to spend more on social work in this town to help the citizens access the programs that are out there right now that they're not getting. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next, please, Laura.
Hi, thank you. I'm really glad I got to go after Margie because I appreciate, I was going to take a different approach, but I really appreciate what she just said. And that's a whole nother way of looking at trying to bring this down to a smaller list. So I agree with what she just said. And what I was going to say is that so many of these are linked that if you take away all of the topics and all of the categories and you look at what are the issues in Albany, I think, are lack of money, which then leads and lack of and affordable housing, a housing program, a housing discussion, all of that stuff comes out of that if people can't afford it. So it's about a lack of money. And that even goes as far as including mental health, because people with more money can afford to go to somebody who's going to provide them with mental health support. So they don't have a safety net. So lack of money, which means you don't have a safety net, which means you might be homeless, you might be having mental health issues that aren't being addressed. you might be having other health issues that might not be addressed. You don't have a safe place to live. You can't afford to live here. So I think that there's a way. I would suggest trying to group a lot of these and put them under like under housing or under money. And then I think the other issue is racism. And I think that includes being in right relationship with the Lishan people, because that is a part of racism. So I think looking at I think you could put this all under another category, racism and economics. To me, those are the two things, and everything kind of comes from that. If you have enough money, you have the support and what you need. You don't need to go to a food bank. You don't need a shower program. You don't need a laundry program, all of those things. So that's how I look at it. And I also agree with what Chair Dusty said about the aging in place. If you're going to look at aging in place, I would suggest it be some people, not just people who are aging, but also people with disabilities, people who are, I can't remember how you put it, but however you put it, that you're in place. But that's another way. But again, I think that gets down to economics. So thank you.
Thank you. Not seeing any other hands. Give it a moment for any last hand raisers, and then we'll be closing public comment in 3, 2, 1. Okay. So I want to first now highlight the things that multiple people brought up. So multiple people brought up housing in terms of number 6, housing forum, in terms of number 1, housing elements, and in terms of number 7, COVID and rent relief, and expanding that to include the language that I have from Commissioner Grossman is to review new proposals for affordability, equity, and reparation opportunity for previously redlined groups. So that was all under housing. And homelessness was sort of adjacent, right? These things being adjacent to each other, and was brought up once or twice. But the other, the Ohlone tribe was brought up twice. The diversity report card was brought up 2 or 3 times. And aging in place was brought up twice. Yeah.
Also,
so
20 mental health services was brought up twice, both under item 8 and 26. But the rest of that, I have matching what you have. So okay. I have everything that you have. There was only one thing brought up 4 times. That's number 7. It was the far and away the winner. But it is sort of within the housing and economics, like you were saying. But anyway, 8 and 26 were each brought up twice, once by Commissioner Guerrero and once by Commissioner Grossman.
Right, you are correct. Thank you. Commissioner Grossman?
Yes, with regard to housing, Julie Winklestein made the point at our last meeting that housing and homelessness are directly connected. I don't think anybody could argue about that. They are directly connected, but they're different, but they require different approaches in the sense that the construction of housing, of affordable housing, requires becoming knowledgeable about initiatives at the state and federal level and funding opportunities and all of that. There's a very different set of tasks than identifying what are the needs of the homeless people who live or unhoused people who live in Albany, and how we're going to meet those needs. So I made the point last time that it might make sense to have 2 different task forces, one to work on the homeless issues in Albany and the other to work on housing affordability. So I would like to suggest that those items that we've identified under housing be grouped together under a housing task force or I wouldn't call it let's just call it a housing committee, a housing subcommittee, to avoid any of the complications of calling things task forces. And I'd like to recommend that we develop a housing subcommittee and give it the charge of working on those items that we've addressed. So that's a motion.
Okay. We have a motion to both put this on the work plan and form a subcommittee on the topic of housing.
Maybe if we call it housing affordability, it might make the distinction a little bit clearer.
Okay.
Is that what the motion is? It's to put it on the work plan and to form a subcommittee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a second?
I mean, I'll second out of politeness. Can I speak to it?
Go ahead.
I think that what we've been told is we cannot form a subcommittee that's vague and broad. That subcommittees need to have specific tasks to be in compliance with the Brown Act. And so I think that this would violate that. I think this would be in violation of the Brown Act as suggested. But I thought of a way that we could achieve work and get things done that would still be working within the Brown Act. And that would be, if housing can be on, we can have anything that's pretty darn vague in our work plan, right? Or we can make it less vague by bullet pointing, the things we're particularly interested in. Maybe that would be better. But then what happens is for the subcommittees, you get charged with one piece of this, you go off and you take care of it, you come back, get it done, and then you get another charge. And so that's completely within Brown, and it forces the subcommittees to have a smaller charge, if you will. And they could come back and say, the next thing we think we need to work on is this. So then you reform the committee. Yeah, right. I guess that's the way you have to do it, Brown Act, and maybe staff can double check that. But the subcommittees are supposed to be discrete tasks is what we've been told. I looked it up. I did a little bit of research on my own because Brown Act is a little messy. And it seems that there is general agreement among lawyers anyway that this is the case on subcommittees. So
that is my understanding, and I think it could be amended to be a specific part of it, perhaps. Commissioner Grossman?
Yes, we've got 3 or 4 specific things that we want this group to work on. It's specific enough. I've been on SEJC, and I've been on many other commissions in the city, and we've had subcommittees like this. Suddenly, we seem to be saying that subcommittees have to be people who sharpen pencils, and you're allowed to sharpen one pencil, and then you have to form a new committee. That's not the way subcommittees work. I think that the items we've developed on housing are cogent enough that a subcommittee could work on them and make recommendations. And I don't see why we have to avoid having a subcommittee. Now, maybe people don't think a subcommittee is a way to deal with these items, and that's another question. But I don't think the Brown Act forbids us from having a subcommittee with this kind of charge.
So the city attorney recommended to council, and council did as they said, and they closed down several subcommittees for the reason they just said. Now, I agree with you. I was kind of shocked when I heard that because I hadn't seen that behavior in the past when I'd been on commissions. So I don't know if it's new case law, new interpretation, a mistake from the city attorney. Because they're not superhuman, they're not gods, or what, but that happened. The city council had, I don't know exactly how many it was, but they had subcommittees shut down because they were too broad and they went on too long.
Okay, I do want to raise that we still haven't heard from the Homelessness Subcommittee that we currently have. And this is trying to establish a new one without ending the previous one. So that's, go ahead.
I'm not suggesting we do away with the other one. I think that would be the homeless one. And I also don't want to have a debate here about this issue with Member Lindsay. But if we're concerned about whether or not this subcommittee will fly, I suggest that we develop it and ask the city council, ask the city attorney for an opinion. But I don't like what's going on, which is that the commissions are being forced to narrower and narrower kinds of interventions. I think we should do this, and if somebody says you can't do that, we'll deal with it.
Okay. So the motion is on the floor to add housing affordability to the work plan and create a housing affordability subcommittee. Is that the phrasing?
Yes, and with the charges that you listed earlier.
Including the housing forum, COVID responses around rent relief, and reviewing new proposals for affordability, equity, and reparation opportunity for previously redlined groups.
Exactly.
We have a second. Are we ready to vote? I'm going to call the vote unless someone wants to comment right now. Commissioner
I have a question. Just kind of zooming out for a moment, I just want to kind of do a check here. It seems that just thinking about this process that Commissioner Grossman is sort of looking to create these kind of larger buckets, which is just in terms of a process, like I'm just checking that this is correct, what I'm noticing. So that we're sort of in the weeds on these different sub topics and things that are very, very specific. And so what I hear being proposed are sort of larger buckets that we could work within. And so, you know, before I vote, I just want to be clear on that because it has implications for the way we organize our work, frankly. And, you know, I think we're a group of people that are, you know, are interested in this commission being an effective and perhaps thought-provoking and effective group. And I also just want to elevate kind of another thing that Commissioner Grossman said, which is just, you know, that we are, you know, some of us in here, you know, I don't know if you all identify this way, that are community activists and are interested. I mean, Jeremiah, you're kind of the hallmark in a way, you know, that are interested in action and seeing things put into place. And at the same time, I think we need to be clear about what we're doing here. We're not necessarily developing programs. We're a body that exists to make recommendations to council. And so I think it's so important that we're clear on this so that we can be effective, right? And so I just said a lot of things, but I'm hoping maybe we can do a 5 yes. That kind of makes sense what you're saying. Yeah. Am I yeah? So can we, is that all right? Okay, thank you. I'm ready to vote.
I'm really
a
little lost there as to what that 5 was for.
Oh, sorry.
Another test of
the 5 was kind of like, is it making sense what I'm saying? Am I totally off base? 5 would be what you're saying is making sense and that you're on base in terms of these like larger buckets that I was trying to explain. And the other piece that I was saying was that let's just have clarity on what role we're playing on this commission.
So I think 5 was, did that make sense?
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, a smaller number is, how much do I follow?
I'm not sure I completely understood it. So anyway, I'll just put a 3 or something. So, I would like to make a motion to split the question. And that would be one question would be putting it in the work plan, and the other would be immediately forming a subcommittee.
Okay. It sounds like you looked that up.
Do we have a motion? Don't we have a seconded motion though?
Yeah. So this is a procedural motion, and it takes priority over the main motion.
So it would split the existing motion if this motion was seconded and approved. Commissioner Knoll?
I'm so confused right now. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so the proposal to translate, it's to say instead of doing one vote on both things, we do two votes, one on each, and the two things would be on a vote to put housing along the lines that Commissioner Grossman and Chair Dostie have specified in the work plan. And the other one would be to immediately form a housing subcommittee.
So that is a procedural motion. If it gets seconded and approved, then we would follow the path of voting separately. That would trump Commissioner Grossman's single motion. I'll hear from Commissioner Zapata and then Grossman. Or just Grossman.
Sorry, I didn't put my hand down.
Yes. Grossman. You're muted still.
In the interest of saving time and not getting into an argument about what's a procedural motion, what isn't, I will accept that as a friendly amendment.
Okay.
So that we would split the motion into two. One being including housing affordability as a topic on the work plan, and the second forming a subcommittee on housing affordability.
Okay, so now instead of needing to deal with Commissioner Lindsay's motion, we have, as a friendly amendment, parted Commissioner Grossman's motion into two motions, which are already seconded. So we will, I think now, I will call a vote on, first is to place housing affordability as a topic on the work plan with the specifics of including a housing forum, COVID responses around rent relief, and reviewing new proposals for affordability, equity, and reparation opportunity for previously redlined groups. Laura, if you would call roll.
Yeah, and can I ask a clarifying question as staff?
Yes.
Do we need to have a second on friendly amendment?
No.
Before we vote on that?
No.
We do not. Okay.
No.
Cool. That's the staff, but we're calling the vote. Cool. Commissioner Bainan.
Yeah.
That was a yes.
Yeah.
Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo. Garrett Pinguelo gone.
Appears to have disconnected. Oh dear.
No. Okay. I will make note of that. Commissioner Grossman.
Yes.
Commissioner Cannoli.
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsay.
Yes.
Commissioner Zapata.
Yes.
And Chair Dostie.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously minus one disappearance. And
Abstain vote.
if you'll keep an eye for a waiting room.
One not present.
Yeah.
And then the second question, the second motion, I'll call to a vote, which is immediately creating a housing affordability subcommittee to deal with that charge on the work plan. Laura?
Mr. Bainan.
Before we vote on this, I would just like to get a little clarification from Commissioner Grossman, hopefully, on how this is different from the homelessness task force and kind of like how it has a different purpose.
I spoke to that earlier, but I see housing affordability as having to do with the creation of new housing specifically, whereas the homeless task force I see working on identifying needs for services and recommending to council actions to provide services for homeless in Albany. So two different levels.
Thank you.
Any other last second, Commissioner Lindsay?
Yeah. I guess I'm just going to state that I'm going to vote no on this because I think we should get our priorities straight and then form our subcommittees. And we don't have our priorities straight yet, A. And B, I think I've been thinking about this a lot just recently. I mean, in the last few minutes. I agree it's really annoying what I believe to be true. It could be wrong. And maybe we could get away with it for a while before, you know, some subcommittee got shut down, or maybe it would just go right ahead. But I also think there's a plus for us in coming to this body, if we're the sort of housing leaders here, and saying the next two things we're going to work on are these two. And it gets assigned to you, you know, we all agree, yeah, good idea, let's do it. And then that group can focus on it, on a couple of things, you know, one or two things at a time. I think that's a plus for us. I think we'll be more focused. That could happen without, you know, without doing it that way. They could just be more focused. But it's easier said than done when people have ideas and stuff. So I think it's too early to be forming subcommittees, and I'm not sure we want to be forming like these ones that have these huge, incredibly huge, I mean, housing affordability, my Lord. That is, you know, 7 PhDs, feels to me like. So that's sort of my concern. So that's why I'm going to vote no. I'm not against some kind of subcommittee at some point for sure. This is a clear priority for this commission. I just think it's a little early and we need to sort it out a bit. That's all.
I'll take Commissioner Cannoli and then Grossman.
Yeah, I do agree. I think that we should figure out what's on this work plan first and get motions on what's going on this work plan, and then maybe form subcommittees, and then maybe for the homelessness, like figure out programs. I want to vote no as well for this motion. Just because I feel like we member Lindsay said, I think that we should definitely be more organized on what's going on.
Commissioner Grossman.
If the sentiment is that you would rather identify what's in the work plan and then talk about task forces or commissions or whatever, subcommittees, then seeing that interest, I'll withdraw the motion.
Okay, motion is withdrawn. Okay. Commissioner Cannoli, is your hand up again or still up? Okay. Okay. Seeing as we still have quite a bit to get to on the agenda and we have to get through the rest of figuring out what's going on in the work plan, I suggest that everything that was brought up more than once, we do a hand poll of if we think it should go on the work plan. And then we can maybe omnibus it if we're all in agreement into an actual motion. And then we can look at any last things. So the things that were on multiple times, Commissioner Lindsay, you had a very tidy list. You are muted though.
Housing is far and away the number one. And that was like, you know, because we also need to prioritize, I think. Can we prioritize on a work plan? I think we could.
Yes.
And maybe we'd be teaching all the frickin' commissions to prioritize too. So I think there might be consensus that housing should be number one. And I want to note that it wasn't on my list at all, but it's on most everybody else's. So I think it should be number one. Then it gets tricky. If there was a category, if we're putting these into bags for our work plan purposes, social justice and diversity, equity, inclusivity, that set of things seemed pretty popular.
I'll take specific numbers right now, please.
So Lindsay, Cannoli, Zapata, and what's DOS? Oh, Dosty. All mentioned stuff within that realm in terms of 18, 19, and 22. So that was, you know, a majority of the commission. So that feels like, I don't know what priority it should be, but it feels like it should probably be there. And then the economic justice area had a tremendous amount of support with item 7, and then 14 and 12. 12 was from a member of the public, actually, so my bad. But there were a whole lot of people who mentioned like rent relief and things like economic help to homeless people. So there's sort of this homelessness, housing, and economic justice thing that's all sort of affordability was part of the name of the, it's all kind of there. So maybe they're a bag for economic justice. And then the other ones that were smaller that had just a couple of people, but there were a couple, was mental health. And so that was 2 people who called it out as key priorities for them, and aging, item 17. Aging increased to homebound, not just aging, but homebound.
Okay, so I'm hearing 18, 19, 22, 7, 14, 12, 17, and mental health, which is 8.
It's 8 and 26. And then the aging in place homebound was mentioned by 2 commissioners.
Yeah, and that was 17.
17, yeah.
Okay. So I think process-wise, the ones that are discrete on their own are going to be easiest versus the ones that, right, like this grouping that we may be doing of 18, 19, 22. And part of it is figuring out how we want to phrase it. So I'll take that in motions, right, for sure. I know that 22 specifically was brought up multiple times, which is getting in right relationship with the Lijan Ohlone tribe. And I think, some notes, 18 was brought up multiple times on its own. 19 was maybe just once. So 18, 22. There's the question of whether 7 is separate from housing affordability, which we could, decide either way. I think 7 being the COVID response around rent relief as well as public showers is what was brought up multiple times. CARES, I think, right, CARES was multiple times. What was that?
So
Yeah,
can I make a?
No, we can't.
Tonight is about. Sorry.
Order, please. Just a moment. 14 and 12, I'm actually seeing 12 was brought up multiple times, but 14 I'm only seeing once, even though it's sort of groups. So the ones I'm seeing brought up multiple times were rent relief, diversity report card, right relationship with the Ohlone tribe, number 7, rent relief, public showers program under COVID, 12, Albany Cares, mental health, which is 8 and 26, and 17, which is aging in place expanded. Of those, I would like to right now, to streamline the process, I am going to attempt to be a little firmer about this. If you think there is one that we can just put on the work plan, that's what I want to hear right now. Commissioner Zapata.
Actually, Commissioner Grossman was before me, so I'll go after if you're cool with that.
That's fine. Zoom said you were first, but Commissioner Grossman.
Well. Go for it, Bart.
Oh, okay. Well, I just was going to point out that several of these are already on the work plan, the continuing work plan, Albany Cares, for example, we have an ongoing charge from the council to review that.
And
So
I'm
that-
gonna say that I think part of this is we're not sure if we're keeping that ongoing work plan, and if
All
we're
right, well,
keeping those things,
All right.
we
well,
can send it back without
yeah.
those.
I guess what I'm trying to say is the things that you've identified, Chair Dusty, the ones that you just mentioned, I think could all be on the work plan. Then I think we might do what Member Lindsay is suggesting, which is to prioritize them. And then the ones that we identify as high priority, that's where we may want to set up some subcommittees. I just wanted to mention in passing that subcommittees are very helpful. They give us so much more time than we have in these meetings, and 3 people can do a much better job of really digging into something. So I think I would suggest all of those could be on the work plan, and then we prioritize them.
Okay, so that is one possible approach, Commissioner Zapata.
Yeah, I'm open to that. I don't really know why you would have things on a work plan that you're not going to do, but I'm also like fine with that. I'm more interested in like getting the ball rolling. But that said, I guess for me, what would be really helpful is if someone could put it on the screen and then we go around and prioritize. Like I say, my top 4 or 5, and then it's almost like a vote in a way, like we're saying, number 1, blah, blah. And if a bunch of people have, blah, blah as 1, then it seems like it's prioritized in a way. So I'm wondering about a process that puts something so we can see it, and then we take turns sort of in a way prioritizing, and then that helps us get to the prioritization.
Could I just clarify one thing here? In terms of having lower priorities, this is a 2-year work plan. So we're going to finish some things, hopefully, and then we'll have room to look at lower priorities.
What?
It's true. I would also urge us not to get caught up on deciding priorities tonight, because we have a lot to do still on the agenda. So I would suggest that right now we just build a work plan that goes to council. And then we can work on priorities next time, right? / pulling them up as we are like, oh, we need to work on this right now. I am going to share my screen. I will hear from Commissioner Garrett Pinguello and then Lindsay.
Yeah, sorry about that. Is my hand up?
It was.
I'm lowering my hand.
Okay, Commissioner Lindsay.
Okay. I think with the, I completely agree we shouldn't try to prioritize tonight. We just don't have time. It's already, I think that should be number 1 on the agenda for next time, okay? Would be prioritizing. I think what we need to do is make our buckets clear. But I would recommend that we specifically bullet point multiple choice items. So we say specifically including, so housing, right? However, I'm not a wordsmith, far from it. However, we wordsmith housing, but the bullet points of at least the multiple items would be, put on there as amended by various people at various times, seems like there's consensus when people suggested changing things or adjusting them. So housing, and then we want economic justice, the ability, remember this gives us the ability to work on stuff, folks, right? That's what it gives us the ability to do. So to me, we need economic justice on there, and we call out the things in there that, certainly the ones that had multiple interest in them. And then social justice, anti-racism, however you call it, diversity, equity, not a wordsmither. That needs to be a clear bucket that we need in our work plan, right? I mean, how can we not have that? That's not even possible, it seems to me like. And then the other ones where there were multiple, mental health should be on the work plan so that we are allowed to work on it if we want to. And an aging in place strategic plan, although I hate the term strategic plan because of the way it works out in practice, but whatever. The homebound thing should be on there because there were at least 2 people that put it in their top 2, and I would, if there'd been top 5, I would have put it there. You know what I mean? It was just like I was trying to restrict it to top 2. So there's more support for these things than just, this was just people's like top 2, maybe 3 things. So it's impressive when something got multiple out of when you only can say 2 things. So I don't think we should be not impressed by developing aging in place strategic plan. Homebound only had 2 people. That's actually kind of impressive. So that's what I recommend, that we say that we want just these 5 items, and that we really want to focus in on these, and we call out separate bullet points within each one. Then top priority next meeting, I hope, is prioritizing these so we can get to work. So that's the way I think we probably ought to do this. You want bigger pots on your work plan so that you are allowed to work on it. Otherwise, if we want to work, if we don't put aging in place and homebound on our work plan, then you'd have to go to council and ask that it be put on the work plan if you wanted to actually do anything.
Right, which was one of the reasons why in brainstorming originally, right, I went as broad as possible, but some of it ended up very specific. But okay, so I am hearing that we at least have, and you can see my screen, right? Yes. So there's at least these 5 had multiple folks. 7 was sort of folded into housing already, so I'm not clear on if 7 public showers is also a work plan item, or if we would fold that onto housing, how we would want to add that. So that one I'm not as clear on. We can get clearer on that. But these 5 are sounding pretty clear. And then I'm slowly transferring over my notes about what else was proposed with single votes, because my notes were very messy. Oh, looks over and there's 2 hands. In the interest of time, I really want to know if we can move all 5 of these that I have highlighted on the screen into the work plan as a single motion.
So moved.
Commissioner Cannoli.
So this is going to be like almost like a diversity report card. And then are we just going to basically put them in a bullet point form and then give it to council and then come back and kind of go into depth of what we're going to do specifically?
That's a good clarifying question.
Because I think sorry. Well, this is how I'm assuming it. This is how I work. So housing, bold, underline, all the programs that we're going to put into housing. We're going to do and that can be public showers. It could be rent relief. It could be affordability, equity. So all that basically goes under housing. Diversity report card and inclusivity survey, bullet point, underlined, what type of programs are going to be doing in regards to that. Eleni tried, bullet point, bolded, what are we going to put under that? So is that I don't know if I'm following you guys correctly, but I feel like that would be, best so that we can, like Zapata said, get the ball rolling, because I feel like we're spending too much time just trying to figure out how to organize this thing.
Right. I agree. I think the language here, right, can be important, such as with CARES. We've clarified that we want it to also be making recommendations about like funding and service expansion and all of those things. So that probably does need to go in here. And I think it's mostly the numbers. I've already spelled it out, like number 18, I just copied that out, that it was developed model for annual use. And we can quickly tweak them right now, right? Again, this is supposed to be more of an overview topic, but council does need to know what it is we're asking for permission to do. Mental health, I need to look at the language on is develop and, well, finalize and submit. Commissioner Lindsay's hand is up first, and then Garrett Pinguello.
You don't have items that specific typically as main items in a work plan. This is a 2-year work plan is what we're allowed to work on. So you wouldn't put our work plan, we want these 5 items. That's not what a work plan is. So, now the proposed buckets, so I'm proposing 5, that's my actual proposal. So once you add 3 in to the proposed buckets, okay, or the thing, housing, which we've already said we're going to put in, but that's 1, right? Economic justice, social justice, and then if you could add in behavior or mental health, and I'm not sure how to word this, Chair Dosty, so please fix it. But aging and homebound folk, support for that stuff. So what I'm saying is, we say, here's the 5 we want, and then as I think it was Commissioner Cannoli was saying, we put the items that you have called out up at the top as specific bullet points that we're including in the work plan. We want to call these out underneath these bigger items, but give ourselves the flexibility to work on other things as they come up. Okay. Work plan is what we have permission to do.
Is this the structure that you're talking about?
Yeah.
All right. And would CARES be under economic justice?
Probably. I mean, it could also be under mental health. I don't know. Some of this stuff is complicated. It's messy,
Okay, so that is another proposal. We do have a motion that is on the floor, just to remind folks that Commissioner Grossman did quickly move that these 5 be added to the work plan as is. It's not seconded yet. I'll hear from Garrett Pinguello. Commissioner Garrett Pinguello.
Okay. Yeah, I don't agree that the public showers folds into housing. It's kind of a specific thing. I think it was even addressed as COVID relief, something to do about COVID public showers. So I just think it should stay by itself. To tell you the truth, I don't know why we couldn't just submit 1 through 26. I mean, seems like a great plan, 1 through 26. We're kind of limiting ourselves, trying to take things off. I mean, it's not like 19 or 21 is getting any attention. Or 21, yeah. But 19, it's like, did we forget everything that we were going for the past 2 years? I would approve 1 through 26. I mean, I don't see why we just don't approve send in the whole thing. And then city council could cross things off if they don't want us to do it. And I don't see anything on here about any policies with Golden Gate Fields and all these horses that are dying. What are we going to do for the next 2 years? We haven't even had that on our agenda. We have so much public comment. These horses are still dying. We're sitting here doing nothing about it.
And that
can't it's on no future agenda. Is what happened to Golden Gate Fields? Did everybody forget all of a sudden? It's nowhere on anything. It's like we don't care because it's not part of our plan. And that's sad. These horses are getting no social justice, sitting there dying. Nobody's doing anything about it. We could put that on our plan.
Okay.
I don't know.
You're right. That is a specific topic that we can't address unless it is on our plan, and this is the time to get it on. Commissioner Lindsay, you had a clarifying point.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting idea if we were just to break up all 26 of these and put them each into categories. It's a good point. There is some interest, particularly from the last commissioner about the horses and us doing that. I would say that I just wanted to say that each one of the items that's on here, if we said we wanted to do social justice, including but not limited to getting in right relationship with the Lijon tribe, the diversity report card, that sort of thing, including but not limited to, so each one of these things, then guess what? If we said that the horses are part of social justice in Albany, then it would have been it'd be on a work plan because we're saying included but not limited to, right? But we want to call out all the things that are probably highest priority things for us, which is the ones we're currently defining as 2 or more people listed as super high priority. But I hear you, Commissioner. As long as there's a bucket we can put it into, if we have these things on here, we'll be allowed to work on it, right?
All right. So this is the structural question that I'm not very good at answering. It's very hard for me to wrap my head around of how we should structure it. And I'm getting more and more concerned about our time and, right? Laura, yes?
Yeah, speaking of structure, I do have a really quick tidbit about that regarding the council. And the announcement is, it says, the city council has started a discussion to revise the advisory body work plan template. So the commission, you guys can continue to discuss about which items will be included as part of the SEJC work plan. And once the council adopts a final work plan template, which they're working on right now, we may return to the commission for a final version of the work plan to recommend and present to the council.
Right. So it is in some ways a sort of extension, but we should be really telling them what we want now. But we'll have a chance to revise it into that template.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Grossman. You are muted.
Given that reality, yes, and I had forgotten about that happened at the city council meeting. We really don't need to finalize this tonight. I think we have the topics here that we're going to want to include once we see their template. I do think having a social justice bucket and an economic justice bucket, those are pretty big buckets. I think there are more reasonably sized buckets that we could use. I'm glad you added homelessness back in, but it shouldn't be a task force. I would call it homelessness needs and services. We can't make a task force. We can recommend that. And that might come out of a group that works on homelessness needs and services, but we've already appointed a homeless subcommittee. So it wouldn't be right not to include them in the work plan. But I would say that we have enough now in terms of what should be included in the work plan to be done for now, pending the material that comes from the council. Things like public showers, for example, I think they should be in some subcommittee. Maybe the homelessness subcommittee is the right place for them. There are certain things when we talk about Golden Gate Fields, I just want to say in passing that I have been involved in so many discussions over the years about Golden Gate Fields and what to do about Golden Gate Fields. I'm not sure that we can, what we can do given the political and economic reality of the fact that this is a facility that the city has absolutely no jurisdiction over. But that's just a comment in passing.
Yeah. So pulling up also the things from the continuing work plan, we actually, at least one person brought up each of them, right? So the sugar sweetened beverage tax was brought up by Commissioner Cannoli. The housing element was brought up specifically by, I think it was a housing forum, but it folds into housing. The tax exemption outreach by Commissioner Lindsay, rent review folds into housing. The CARES report was, I think, Commissioner Lindsay, and the HOPE report folds into homelessness, and reviewing housing proposals we've already folded into housing. So for all that we could try, we could currently be like, and we want to specifically remove this charge that council has previously given us. It doesn't look that way to me. Does that sound true for other folks? Do we think there are any of these reports that we strongly want to be like, no, council? Or do we, and again, maybe we want to leave them in as we can, but also because of the way that these specific things are, leaving them in might mean, well, now you have to spend time listening to these reports. And do we want to spend our time on that? And I think that's the last piece. If we're in agreement that we don't need to have a polished thing because we're going to have to rewrite it anyway into the new format.
Were you asking us a question, and what was the question?
Yes, sorry. Let me circle back to my question, which is, are we strongly of the opinion that we should remove one of these, that we want to say to council, we don't want to do this anymore? I see.
Do you want to do your hand thingy?
I see Commissioner Cannoli first.
I think the hand thingy would, I think, work out for all of these. Yeah, that's actually perfect. I think that if we put a 5, and I think that we should go through each and every one, raise our hand if you like it, and don't raise your hand. And if you don't like it, don't raise your hand. Okay. I think that's best. I mean, instead of going through each and every one and kind of explain it, just for sake of time.
Yeah.
Under the annual stuff, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The annual, the quarterly, and yeah, and this as a rise. So all of this section, which I'll move onto a separate page. Whoops, and I will not print. I will do this. Okay. So if you really want to remove this, I think is how we're going to phrase it. If you really want to remove it, please raise your hand with a 5. If you really want to keep it, a fist for 0. And if you're in between, so from 5 to remove it, 0 being keep it, that's how we'll do this. So starting with the sugar sweetened beverage tax, 5 for remove it, 5 to remove it, take it away. Fist is keep it. Okay. Housing element, strong feelings to remove with an open hand, to keep it with a closed hand. In between.
I don't understand what the heck it is, so I'm not voting on it.
It's a theoretical thing that I don't think we actually have yet.
No, can I explain
Commissioner Grossman, please do explain that one.
The housing element is part of the city's strategic plan, and it's in the process of getting rewritten. And it deals with the question of affordable housing primarily, and other things as well. It's a state requirement that every area, every city has to have a housing element in its strategic plan, which explains how the city is going to increase its housing stock and meet its obligations to the state.
Okay.
So
that's
I'm ready underway, and I think it's important that we have a voice there around questions of affordability and equity.
Should we remove it? Or with an open hand, take it away? Closed hand, you want to keep it? Okay. That looks like pretty unanimous keep. Also, Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo, I can't see your video. Yeah, keep. Okay. Yeah, you can definitely chime in since we can't see you. The tax exemptions outreach recommendations, which we did recently. Throw away with an open hand. Keep with closed fists, right in between.
Keep.
I'm hearing, okay. Also keep. Rent review program updates, throw away with an open hand, keep with closed fists, right in between.
Keep.
Okay. And the receiving the CARES reports, throw away.
Can we move that to quarterly?
It is quarterly.
It is quarterly?
Yeah.
Thank you. Hands again. Throw away open hand, keep with closed fist. Rank in between if you want. That is not how you spell quarterly. That was unanimous keep. And the HOPE reports, which is, we all know what HOPE is. It's the Homeless Outreach and Prevention something. And is mostly through Berkeley Housing, Food and Housing Project. And they present to us quarterly-ish. We haven't had it yet. So to keep those presentations quarterly is closed fist, to throw it away, maybe to reduce the number in the middle-ish. Okay. And finally, reviewing any multifamily housing proposals for affordability is what we currently have. Oh, this we already included under the housing that we added to the work plan. Yes, so that is already on our work plan. So it sounds like we're keeping all of those. So, okay. But it's good to get a sense of consensus on it. And it sounds like, okay, just for like super clarification, and especially for staff, I don't think, my understanding is that we're not giving 1 through 26 to cancel, not as 1 through 26, but we are giving essentially this portion of what I've typed up, and public showers is maybe on its own, actually.
Well, I just really wanted to quickly clarify, Commissioner Grossman, did you want to withdraw your really quick motion from earlier about just adding those 5 to the agenda? I think that was kind of not followed up on, even though.
That's right.
Right.
That was just those 5, and that is still on the floor.
It wasn't seconded, and I think this process has done the job of giving us what we need. So let's not make it more complicated.
Okay, it died on the floor without a second. We'll say that.
I do a lot of that.
Okay. So does this look, and do we want to include the single vote ones as well? And I think there might be a few more that I have to grab probably during a presentation. And I think that's the question that we're at right now is, does this cover enough with or without the single votes, which I'll pull in a few more too. Commissioner Bainan. Oh, your audio is not working?
Chair Dotson?
There you are.
Okay. I think it's very important that we include, or at least go through the single votes. I think like the use task force is very important. If we're getting as specific as public showers, I definitely think it's good to get as specific in single votes if those are important to people.
Yeah. Okay. I can pull those and we can do those before we move on. Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo, I heard you briefly.
Sorry. I just had an idea. If, you want to put public showers with mental health or physical health, I'm not sure. It's all related.
It is. It is. Right. Structure. That's a structure question. Commissioner Grossman?
Can we put public showers with homelessness and the youth task? I would like to suggest we add the youth task force back in. It's already we already approved it and it's already in the works. So it would be kind of silly to leave it off.
That's true.
And again,
it's up to 2 votes. Commissioner Lindsay, and then Cannoli.
Yeah, I was going to say we don't I don't know if we make of the large categories as opposed to proposed buckets, probably, the major categories might be better terminology. We were speaking, informally when we said proposed buckets, but so either you put homelessness with economic justice and housing and social justice, or you just call it out as its own major item. Maybe given that in California it's commonly number 1 or number 2 on people's lists of problems, maybe it should be a separate major category. And then public showers could go nicely under homelessness. Or you could put it under housing and have a sub thing, I understand, housing, or it could be called housing and homelessness. Whatever, wherever we put these things is not that big a deal. Youth Task Force doesn't fit into any of those that are currently under what it says proposed buckets, and I'm proposing we call them major categories. And so maybe it should be its own major category. But that's different for how we prioritize our work. It's more that giving ourselves the flexibility to move on this if we do prioritize it, or if we want to take a quick action on it or something like that.
Yeah. Commissioner Cannoli?
Sorry, I don't know if you deleted number 25, the sugar sweetened tax beverage revenue.
Because that is already under the annual and we agreed to keep.
Okay, cool. Well, don't we have to still make recommendations on it?
Yeah, that is part of.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah. It's okay. It's good to make sure. So that is, we're definitely keeping that. We're keeping all of these. Yeah, still spelled quarterly wrong. Okay.
I think I'll just say this last thing, and then I propose that we be done now, and then we move the agenda.
Absolutely.
That we did some really hard work here, and everything that's on here would fit into one of these buckets, so we don't have to worry about. I believe that that's a true statement, so that we do have that flexibility in the work plan, but we really need to prioritize. Do I need to make a motion that be number 1 on the agenda next time, or I don't know how that goes, but if we don't prioritize, we ain't going to get anything done. So anyway.
Okay. I will note that, and we can bring it up again during further agenda items to make that be number 1.
Okay. Good point.
So number 1 agenda item to be prioritizing work plan. Okay. I'll put a star next to that. And I'm just finally making sure that I'm not leaving out any of the singles, because I agree with Commissioner Bainan that we would need to look at them now. There was 15 equalizing the tax burden, which Commissioner Lindsay brought up. That hasn't made it on here.
Economic justice.
That is under
right.
economic justice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's. Okay. I mean, yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to. We don't have to put every line item in here, although we could. But we just need to say including but not limited to the things that are most important to us. The fact that 15 falls under economic justice, if economic justice is on a work plan, we'll be allowed to work on 15, even though it was nobody called it out specifically. We can still do it because it's under economic justice.
And then I know that, let's see, Commissioner Garapinguelo was 7C, public showers. 24. The respectful language guide. That was the one. I knew there was one that I was leaving out.
Thank you.
That was 26 and 8. Okay. So I think Anti-Racism Subcommittee definitely falls under the social justice anti-racism bucket. Do we think the respectful language guide falls under that bucket, or do we want to have like a poll on if we want to include it in our work plan explicitly?
It could be under mental health. It could be under social justice, I suppose.
Right.
You could put it in one of those.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. is somebody suggesting that we include that? Because
Yes.
I have some question about whether that's our job and also whether we're qualified to figure out. I mean, the language of respectful language changes a lot. Seems to change from week to week in terms of what people wish to be called. I don't really want to decide what other people should be called. I think it's their choice, not ours. So I
would say because it was part of my, I think it emerged between Jeremiah and I at some point. I have done a lot of respectful language guides for communities I'm a part of, and that's the goal there, is that it be by people who are members of those communities. So I could, and I am rooted in different disabled communities, autistic community, trans community, non-binary community, and it's hard to disseminate our voices often. And so I think this would be more about researching and bringing in pre-existing language guides, because I have noticed, right, that I mean, it's hard to get those disseminated, and people want to be respectful, but they think person with a disability is respectful, and a lot of the time it's not. It's not offensive, but it's a little stilted. Person with special needs is offensive. But I also definitely hear that we might not want to call it out explicitly on our work plan. So I'm going to ask for a hand poll, and then if we need to, we'll do an actual vote. Do we want to explicitly name this on our work plan, or do we want to just have the social justice bucket, including but not limited to? And then later we can decide if we're working on it. So 5 for throw it away, and we can pick it up later, maybe under the name of social justice, and closed hand for really want to hold on to calling out that we want to work on a respectful language guide. And then there's middle fingers. I'm seeing mostly not working on.
Well, not calling it out explicitly.
Not call it right. Sorry. Thank you. Not committing to working on right now. Not calling out explicitly. Okay. Then unless there is anything else, I think that this is where we have arrived. I am seeing 2 hands. I'll hear Commissioner Bennett.
Oh.
Yeah, I just had a quick change. I think instead of having youth task force as a main bucket, it'd be better to change the language to youth civic engagement. So if we wanted to do other aspects of that, it'd be possible, not just a specific task force that we could only look at. And then a bullet point could be the task force.
Well, or how about youth and civic engagement or something, so that we can do youth health things if we want to?
And issues.
Well, I'm asking the one. Well, okay. Compared to me, you're all young, but except maybe Bart. Compared to me and Bart, you're all young. But Commissioner Bainan, youth issues and civic engagement. Is that?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay.
Okay. And we're going to close this item with we completed a draft work plan. It's kind of, I mean, it looks like a draft, but we did it. And good job us. My goodness, that was a difficult process. Oh man, how do I stop sharing? Stop sharing. A moment of, we did that. And now, item 6-2, the Racial Equity Survey Subcommittee reports. So I believe that was Commissioners Lindsay, Cannoli, and was it Garrett Pinguello? It was Zapata. It was Zapata. It's between 0 people. Okay. Is one of you giving the presentation?
We all 3 are. I can start off, Zapata. I don't know.
Yeah, do you mind putting it, I don't know if we should put it on the screen or.
Yeah, let me, hold on. Let me get this going. Sorry, guys.
Screen sharing is a whole thing.
It kind of is. So give me a second. I'm sorry. Okay.
You got it, Sierra? I can put mine up.
Okay, I got it. Okay. I have tons of screens, but we're gonna get this going. Okay. Actually, I don't know how to share. I thought I did, but it's not pulling up on my screen. Thank you. Yeah, so Commissioner Zapata and Lindsay, we all came up with this survey. You can like blow it up. So the purpose of this is to gather data to move forward with hopefully change in the city of Albany. As you know, there's lack of diversity, Black and brown people that are in the city of Albany. So the survey will basically survey people of color. And this is basically asking about their experiences in Albany. It is basically we want to keep it as short as possible because people would rather have, I don't know if you guys can see the document, but the questions are pretty short. Just a few is like, how welcome do you feel in the city of Albany? Basically, we're just like rating them. Do you feel safe, et cetera, et cetera. So we're tracking the ethnic diversity statistics so that we can have qualitative data and so that we can show the council and say like, hey, this is real. This is a huge problem. And yeah, I don't know. Should I add anything? Did I miss anything? Lindsay?
I think one of the things that we talked about was that perhaps there was a campaign connected to the questions so that it's not just like we're gathering data on the pain and trauma that's in the city of Albany, but perhaps there's a pre and post element to it so that, for example, one of these questions on here is how welcome do you feel, how are you treated in businesses? And we talked about a scale of fairness, and perhaps the city of Albany is engaging in a campaign where they're hanging or they're asking local businesses to hang images or something that disrupts narratives of Black people being there to steal, for example, or any of those other kind of tropes that are alive and well in our city, and affect the lived experience of people that are in the city of Albany. And so that the campaign perhaps is, we use this word a lot in this, is moving the needle on the data that's gathered. So it's not just gathering the data, it's moving the needle as well. And I guess just to add that we just finished this recently, so that's why it's not included in the packet, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions. And so unfortunately, we don't have it as a public document right now. It's just here. So I think that's all I want to say. If Jim was our last person on the team, so if you want to say anything.
Yeah, I think we would send it to everybody in Albany, but that we would you would break down the data, obviously by ethnicity. Otherwise, it's a complete waste of time. I think that I said this before earlier, so I guess I'm repeating myself and I apologize, but I think that the median person or the average person in Albany and in general really doesn't understand what it is to be Black and to walk into a business, into a restaurant or a bank or something like that. and really, really doesn't know. And that includes me. Every time I hear something, which is all the freaking time, if you just ask somebody, it's just kind of shocking and dismaying. So I think this will be a wake-up call to our city and to hold ourselves accountable for. And then we can say, all right, how are we going to move the needle? It needs to be short. It's just my greatest fear is that, we take this to the council and the council says, yeah, let's study this for 9 months and, put together the perfect thing. And then maybe we'll, oh my God, it was about a year ago that Mr. Floyd was murdered, and we have very little to show for it, which is dishonoring what happened and dishonoring millions and millions of people. So this is urgent. It's absolutely urgent. So I would like to say that we ask the council to give staff a very specific amount of time to get this out. It's just, pop it in the mail to every household in Albany, and not worry about perfection or, stuff like that. Just get it out, so that we can get it back, analyze the data, and get to work. So that's the thing. Another thing, maybe a suggested change that I just thought of would be to put wording in our proposal that staff work with the SEJC subcommittee to finalize the wording, and to get it out quickly or something like that. I've worked with staff in other situations at other times, and it can be very, very fruitful rather than leaving staff kind of on their own to do the best they can. They're not gods or perfection. They haven't necessarily studied how to do, it's like, that's something I would like to add to this. And I apologize to my fellow subcommittee members because I didn't think about it until just recently. Can you go to the bottom of that, Karen? Because it's the gathering of statistics parts that I want to, it's kind of a big part of this. Down a little lower, it's like the next page, or is it not on here? Yeah, here it is. So the survey data is so we can get information from residents of Albany, as to sort of lived day-to-day reality, that can wake up the city and give us targets to work for, that it's going to be better in a year, that sort of thing. But there's other information that we can get that we don't need to send out a survey for. Staff can just gather it for us. So what we're suggesting here is that we ask for population of Albany, cut across various things. And for that item, I'd like to also suggest that we get the nearby bordering cities on the first bullet point under some stats we should ask for. So population of Albany, race, ethnicity, and age, nearby bordering cities, El Cerrito and Berkeley at least, right? Maybe Richmond if it borders us, I don't know. But what's their population by ethnicity? I think we'll see it's very different, and I think that'll lead to some good conversations. And then we want to get broken down by ethnicity and gender, I would like to see, but at least ethnicity, elected officials, commission members, city staff, and school staff. Who do we pay? Who runs the city? And who do we pay in the city? Broken down, because again, I think it will be edifying and dismaying. But dismay is sometimes dismay is a good thing, because at least you know the truth. And now you can move on from there. So those statistics, actually it'd been very nice to get all of those within 30 days from today, but we cannot direct staff. We can only ask council. So that's what this proposal is, that a survey go out and that council direct staff to gather these statistics for the SEJC and for the city.
Thank you for that presentation. I have some comments about gender, but I'll hear Commissioner Grossman first. You are still muted.
I'd like to thank the subcommittee for doing this. I think this moves us along, and my training is survey research, so I have some comments from that perspective. And I sent you today a Seattle survey, which I think might be helpful for you to take a look at. How are you treated in Albany? That's a difficult question from a validity point of view. That could mean all kinds of things. So I understand what you're trying to get at, but I think you might look in the Seattle report or elsewhere for a question that is more valid, that will give you a reliable result. I also agree with Jim that we need to survey everybody. Otherwise, the results are not going to be meaningful. If we're looking for a difference between different populations, we need to include all the populations to be able to show the difference. So I would suggest that you take a look at the wording of some of these items and look for some items. And frankly, this is what I hoped that the consultants would do for us, which would be to do the research of digging into the available surveys that are out there to find items that are tested and reliable, rather than make up our own. Because when you do that, you always take the risk that you have an item that doesn't make any sense to anybody but you. So you have to be careful about that. A lot of the things that you're mentioning in terms of population, by the way, are available in the census data. So it's not a problem. You can find them there. When we propose the rent review, we use the census data. It has detail about population, about income, all kinds of things, specifically broken out for Albany. So anyway, I thank you for doing this, but I think we need to do a little bit more work to get the items more valid, so that that the results will be meaningful.
I will note that the census also only measures male and female. It doesn't measure transness at all. Commissioner Zapata.
It's true.
Oh, you're still muted.
Sorry. I appreciate those comments. And, I will say that, I think it's okay for the subcommittee, I could be wrong, but for us to go back and do some more work so that we're not necessarily finalizing things tonight. I will say it's a lot of work. And I also, was like, dang, on the folks that were paid probably a fairly large amount of money by the city of Albany. And here we are slogging along. But I also want to say, and I was on the committee, that we did talk about not just the residents, but people that are in Albany working and experiencing the city, even as people traveling through. So, if we're going to talk about doing a survey, not only is it sent to people's homes, but it also is people that are literally, either working or experiencing our city, because we want this experience to be a racially just experience in our city. So anyway, I just want to add that.
Right. I think a big question of distribution, right? And of a lot of what was raised in the town hall a year ago was about driving through Albany while Black being a major issue. And how do we capture that with the survey? Yeah. And I also am hearing, right, don't let perfection be the enemy of the good, but using tested, leveled things that can be compared with other places, right? It's always balancing. Commissioner Lindsay? You're still muted.
You literally took the words out of my mouth. Not letting the perfect be the enemy of the good. We will never get this thing out if that's the case. If the exact wording of what we put on there went out, which is not what I expect, that would be still a big plus overall. So let's get it out and let's not worry about it being perfect. That said, we all know that we are not survey researchers. I think we all know that the three of us that were on the subcommittee, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we all said, none of us had training on, doing excellent surveys and things like that. So it definitely needs finalization. This can be seen as, well, it's obviously not a final product. So one would hope that staff would look at the Seattle report, that staff would gather the data from the census, because I don't know how to do that, and I'm not paid to do that, and I'm already working too damn many hours as a teacher to have to do that, right? So let's pay our staff to do that, as and let them do it. But yeah, it definitely needs finalization. Boy, I wish I'd known that part. We couldn't have included you, but we could have done something to try to have gotten your information. We could have used that. But yeah, I think we send it over, making it clear that we're not claiming it's a final product, but the product needs to be finalized and sent out within, say, 60 days, for example. That's really important because staff has a lot of things to do, and if council does not give staff a deadline, I hereby predict it'll be 5 or 10 years before it goes out. Okay, they've got to have some kind of deadline, right? So.
Okay, I want to go to public comment, unless your thing is really quick, Commissioner Grossman.
Very quick. I don't know if staff know the answer to this, but the consultants, when they were here last time, seemed to imply that they were doing a draft of a survey that was going to council. Is that happening? Are we drafting a survey while they're drafting a survey? And when was the decision made that the survey would go to council instead of to SEJC, which was the original plan? So I'm just asking for staff, if they don't know, Laura, could you find out if there's another survey process underway?
That has been confusing, yes. But again, I don't think that should stand in the way of this necessarily, right? And we'll talk about that after we take public comment. So this is public comment on item 6-2, the Racial Equity Survey Subcommittee report. I'm seeing Commissioner Bainan right now.
Before public comment happens, shouldn't we extend the meeting? Is 9:30 the time we have to extend from? Or
I think it is. Thank you very much. Can I have a motion to extend?
Motion to extend for till 10 o'clock.
Okay. From Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo, second, please. I see Commissioner Grossman. Okay, motion is until 10 o'clock. Laura, roll call, please.
Yes, Commissioner Bainan.
yes.
Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo.
Yes.
Commissioner Grossman.
Yes.
Commissioner Cannoli.
No.
Commissioner Lindsay.
Can you say why no, Commissioner Cannoli? Can she say that?
It's not appropriate in the middle of a vote.
I'm more than happy to explain.
You have to explain.
All right, I guess I'll vote yes.
Commissioner Zapata.
No.
And Chair Dostie.
Yes. I believe that's a pass, Laura. Okay. Moving to public comment. I see one hand currently. Laura.
Hi, I can't believe I'm still here. I can't believe you are all still here. I just wanted to say that I'm really glad this is happening. I appreciate Bart's comments, Commissioner Grossman's comments, because I know that surveys, there are ways of testing to see if you get good responses. And I think it's a really good idea to take more time with this. But I'm glad that it's happening. And I also think that you could reach out to CMAC, the Community Media Access Channel, because we're working very hard on how to communicate with people in Albany. So that we might be a good place to think about about helping you get the survey out once you're ready to do it. And I think it should be in many different forms. so that you can really reach a wide range of people. So my biggest concern is how safe people will feel filling it out and being honest. And I don't know how you make that happen, but I just feel like there may be people, I know you'll say that it's anonymous, but I noticed that it says in here, if you want to talk more, you can put in your name, and or people might, depending on how it's done, people might be worried about privacy while they're filling it out, depending on how they're living. They may not have a private place to do it, or they may be worried that their IP address will be tracked if they do it online. Just all of the, like, how do you make it feel safe? That would be my question, so that you could really get honest answers. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. No other hands are up at this time. We will close public comment if no one else raises their hand in 3, 2, 1. Closing public comment. Commissioner Lindsay, you're on mute.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify the other survey proposal. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, it's out there. And frankly, it's a mess. I think they ran out of time halfway through or something. They had, I don't know, 700 questions, everything that everybody could think of all over the, all right, it wasn't 700, it was 650 at least though. It's not in any kind of form that we could use. And so it's a very difficult problem. One of the two principals last time when they were talking with us said, they were sort of envisioning doing a series of them because, there was so much there that people wanted to have in it. And how do you get to that information without overwhelming, the people you're surveying, which I thought was very well taken, their point. They are professionals. They're trying their best to do their job. It's a pretty tough job to write a master plan. That said, I think we should specify we want to get this survey done now. And then, this survey is going to be amended, right, by the city staff and, hopefully by the subcommittee also working with city staff to get it finalized. We don't have to worry about finalizing it. That's staff's job to finalize it. And the other thing is that we did try to work with the master plan principles, but our email was just never returned. So what I suggest is that we say to council what I think is true, which is that let's get this survey out and let's get it out quickly. And then other surveys that are part of the master plan, the new master plan, if it gets approved, could certainly follow. That they're not in conflict with each other. This is just our recommended first one.
So what I'm hearing is I'm gonna look for a motion to refer to council this survey for staff to collaborate and execute it within, I believe 60 days was suggested, but within a time frame.
Working with the SAG survey subcommittee.
Right, specifically. Is that impression correct? Is there such a motion?
And also, I mean, that this report go. I mean, I have some amendments to it, but whatever. I mean, not letting the perfect be the enemy of the good, right? Because we really, really want these statistics too. These are things that are actionable. If we find that the commissions are almost all white, that's actionable. We can move on that, right? But we need the data.
So I'm looking for a motion for this report, possibly amended within the next week by the subcommittee. I think we can authorize that as SCJC, that this subcommittee submit a report to council, this revised report, and recommend, right, to staff, but wording, motions. Is this sounding correct? Okay. please.
We recommend to the city council that a racial equity survey along the lines of the SEJC's committee's report be sent out within 60 days. We further recommend that staff be directed to gather these statistics at least and get that back to the SAJC within, say, 30 days. Maybe it should be 60, but let's just call it 60 days, I guess. And that staff work together with the SEJC to finalize the survey. SEJC subcommittee to finalize the survey.
Commissioner Zapata?
I was just going to second it.
Okay. That was a motion, Commissioner Lindsay. Okay. Great. So we have a motion and a second. Laura, do you have a clarifying, or is that you're ready to call?
I think I got it.
Yeah. Maybe watch it back.
Yeah. I have a few things written down. Okay. I think we're good. Okay, we'll call the vote. Commissioner Bainan.
Yes.
Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo.
Yes.
Commissioner Grossman.
Yes.
Commissioner Cannoli.
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsay.
Yes.
Commissioner Zapata.
Yes.
Chair Dosty.
Yes. That passes. Excellent work. I'm excited about this. I'll send you a separate email probably after tonight about the gender question. And because it is a specific, it's not related to the racial equity portion of the survey, I think that does not count as a too much communication or serial communication, a violation of the Brown Act, because it is specific information. Yes, Commissioner Lindsay?
I think it's dicey. If it's quick enough, could you say it now? Because it's in public and we're entirely within the Brown Act. If it's quick enough.
It's hard to demonstrate out loud.
Or another way you could do it.
One way, as long as it's one-way communication, it's not a violation of the Brown Act.
I was going to say you could send you could send something to the entire commission, right? You could send information to the entire commission.
As in point of information about, because this could come up in the future.
You send it to Laura, and then she sends it to the entire commission.
Okay.
Then we would get that information.
All right, I will do that. Gender demographics. There's two main ways to structure it, and they have advantages and disadvantages. And it's hard to get into. It's easy to point out, hey, I have friends who are both male and trans, or both female and trans. So male, female, trans, non-binary, pick one, doesn't work. But saying how you fix that, I'll send that along. Okay, I think that ends item 6-2. We are now moving on to item 6-3, Homelessness Subcommittee reports, which is Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo and Commissioner Cannoli. Is that correct?
Hey, Cannoli, would you like to go first at all, or?
No, you can go.
Okay, thank you. I could talk about this till 10 o'clock. So, there's a lot going on with this subcommittee. You guys are aware of most of this. I've already mentioned it before. I don't want to go into too much detail over and over and over again, but this is actually where I'm supposed to be talking about this. So we have a few things going on. We've got a new gentleman at the Albany Library, and he was at the Albany Library back in January for many months, and Albany Cares came and picked him up and housed him in a hotel, the Travelodge, and everybody from the Travelodge got kicked out. I guess Albany Cares, somebody credit card and there's no money, something fishy is going on with Berkeley Food and Housing. And I believe we need to do an audit, because this happened about 4 years ago with Robbie from Berkeley Food and Housing. She bought a Mustang and driving around in front of everybody. So you got to be careful with Berkeley Food and Housing, giving them a credit card. I mean, it worked out great. Everybody got housed in the middle of winter. And then next thing you know, all the homeless are sleeping on the sidewalk in front of the Travelodge. And they were all promised housing for a year. So they went from a hotel to the streets again. So I'm not sure what's going on with Albany Cares. I don't know if they're telling us the whole truth. Also, some suggestions for the homeless at the library. We have the water tank and the porta potty there. I'm just wondering how often that porta potty gets cleaned. Since the library is open, it's being used by everybody, so maybe it can be cleaned once a week. This laundry program, thank you everybody for supporting City Council for the $4,000 potentially getting with this to keep the lights on. It's one of the biggest things in Albany that's good for the community. Albany doesn't do a lot for, just people. And so this is a great start, right? The laundry program has been doing very well. There's been no fights. There's been nothing negative has happened. It's all positive. There's so much outreach going on, and I've become really resourceful. As you all know, I'm not sure as you all know, but just want to make a public record. I myself lived in an RV in Albany about 3-4 years in front of the Gill Track Farm on San Pablo across from Arco. And so I know a lot about what the homeless issues are in Albany. There was no laundry program when I was there. There was no shower program, so I had to start to create things in Albany because it was just not there. And there's been so many things that has happened. It's wonderful. And to see you guys' support is great. With all this homelessness in Albany, there's people standing on Marin and San Pablo flying a sign between the gas stations. And I've asked them if Albany Cares has ever asked them. They said, no, we're here, we're here every day standing on Marin and San Pablo flying a sign, and still Albany just does nothing. I've talked to many people, and homeless are afraid of the police in Albany. I've actually witnessed myself from across the street, an interaction. A police officer goes in, shines his flashlight, and just says, hey, you can't be here, and move along, get out of here, without offering them resources. So that's one of the problems. Homeless people are scared to be in Albany, because of harassment from the police department. It's not illegal to be homeless. And, I want to try to create something homeless without borders, because I hear all this talk about homeless in Berkeley, homeless in Albany, homeless. Your homeless is just homeless anywhere, and I hear a lot of people in Albany, this stigma, psychology in people's brains that, there's no homeless in Albany. Well, homeless pass through Albany. There are homeless in Albany that are sleeping in the bushes. You don't see them. So there's solutions. I've been feeding the guy at the Albany Library. Recently started that up again. I think if we were all to work together on this, we could do a lot of really good things with this subcommittee. And Cannoli, you've been really supportive. I know you see me out there, in action, doing what I do best for the people. And my situation is to where on this subcommittee is I could use all my life experience to help make things better, because a lot of homeless people aren't on a social and economic justice commission, or they don't know how to speak. They're afraid to talk to police. And I just really like networking with people on this. So everything I learned I'm not turning my back on that. And so I know I went back to work and I could just forget everything I learned, but I'm not going to forget. And I'm helping all the homeless along the way. So, there's encampments at the Bulb, and then, East Bay Regional Park deals with it. So if we could just get, showers going, I have the keys to a shower trailer. I apologize, City Council, for bringing the shower trailer to Solano as I did. They said my heart's in the right place. I just need to ask for permission. And so we have the keys to the shower trailer and the truck to pull it. It's in a secured facility, and we're just waiting on City Council. So if we can just get City Council to say, yes, Jeremiah, you could park it on the street or wherever in a park. We have a portable shower trailer, and there's 3 showers in there, and it's hot showers. We could bring that to Solano Stroll. It could be an emergency thing. And the situation with COVID is all the gyms closed and the Albany pool closes. So where do people take showers for a whole year? And I've been saying showers for over a year now, and still no showers. So how long is it going to take for homeless people to get recognition that this is an emergency situation? You can't wait 3 more years for a shower. So if we could just take action in the moment and get these things done, it's doable. I already brought the shower trailer to Albany, so we have it. It's just, I did it the wrong way. So now I look bad that I did the wrong way. And so now it's a negative thing, but this is a good thing. So let's try it again, and let's get this thing fixed. Let's get this thing resolved. If we start this in Albany, I've got access to Berkeley Food Network. I can get as much food as we need in Albany through the warehouse on 9th Street and University. So let's get this rolling. And Cannoli, is there anything you want to say?
I think that you have covered everything, to be completely honest. And just for sake of time, since we have 9 minutes, I think that we should probably, and thank you so much for explaining all of that, but I think that we should probably move on. I don't think you're going to have time for mental health updates. That's just my opinion, but I think you covered everything.
We open to public comment, or?
So thank you for that presentation. I'm going to ask if you need anything from us. As a subcommittee, are you asking for a recommendation from SEJC right now, for instance, around the public showers? I don't know if we can, because I don't know if it's on our work plan right now, right? Maybe putting it on our work plan draft right now is movement on that enough.
Yes, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Is that an absolutely and a yes, please, to putting it on the work plan is good right now, or to we would like a recommendation tonight, like a motion to recommend that they move forward with the shower trailer truck?
That would be great.
Yeah,
I think you worded that wonderfully.
Yeah.
Sounds like they're already working on it. What can we know what the status is?
Well, I know they've delayed for months that I've also been looking and asking them. So I think it's appropriate for us as an advisory body to say, please expedite this. Please actually do this. Commissioner Lindsay?
Well, that's exactly what I was going to propose. So I don't want to make the motion, because I think the motion should come from the people that are doing the work. So I'll propose a motion that maybe they will find acceptable. And that is that we vote and we say to the City Council that this is a public health issue, and it's a social justice issue, and it's a economic justice issue, that people be able to take showers.
Well, and by the way, it's going to be free. I mean,
I know. Let me finish.
okay.
And that therefore, the Social and Economic Justice Commission recommends that council direct staff to have showers up and running within 60 days.
Time frame again. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a motion to that effect? Or slightly altered?
Can I make a motion?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Okay, so Garrett Pinquillo, you moved that specifically, and can only second it. Okay, Commissioner Grossman, you have a comment?
I think that's fine. I support that. I think we should say 60 days or as soon as possible, because I don't know what the staff are up to with this. There's some question, I think, about when the high school will be reopened, and whether the city prefers to go in that route rather than to use the shower van. I don't care which they do, but I would like to see something happen very quickly. That's my only suggestion.
Commissioner Lindsay?
Yeah, I mean, we say what we want, and then we let them modify it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if as soon as possible, and maybe we say as soon as possible, but no longer than 60 days or something, and then they can just say that's ridiculous. Staff may just say that's just cannot happen, and so they change it to what is possible. I don't know, but we can, heck, I'd rather go to 30 days, frankly.
Yeah, but
it's like, but yeah, let's put out there, let's put some pressure on them, to prioritize this and get the thing done. Let's each call whoever appointed us.
Okay.
Right? Because we actually want them to pass this, so you need to talk to whoever appointed you. And then, and while you're doing that, maybe the other recommendation that we have, the racial equity survey, you could also talk to your council member about, hopefully. But yeah, let's put some pressure on the council to prioritize this. That's all.
So we're saying 30 days instead of 60. Correct?
I don't know. What do y'all think?
I think 30,
yeah. You like 30 better?
I think 30 days is actually perfect. Instead of 60, and I think that we should. I second it, and I think that we should vote.
Right, it's been so long. Commissioner Garrett Pinguillo, you do have to agree. Do you agree to amend it to 30 days?
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Okay. So from the amendment to say within 30 days, as soon as possible within 30 days. Let's call the vote, Laura.
Commissioner Bannon.
Yes.
Commissioner Garrett Pinguillo.
Yes.
Commissioner Grossman.
Yes.
Commissioner Cannoli.
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsay.
Yes.
Commissioner Zapata.
Yes.
Chair Dostie.
Yes. Great. And thank you for that report. And yeah, I think we might want to talk more about your specific charge as a subcommittee, if you feel like it's specific enough and all of those things, but maybe not tonight. Commissioner Lindsay?
So I move that we postpone item 6.4 until I detect some exhaustion here. And I think we should end the meeting. But that we move item 6.4 to the next agenda. And that we do future agenda items and say goodnight to each other.
Oh, we didn't take public comment.
Oh, right.
We will check for that quickly. I don't think we'll have any, but we'll check. Checking for public comment now on the Homelessness Subcommittee reports. Giving it 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. No public comment. So we have a motion to postpone mental health services. Commissioner Grossman?
I want to speak to that. It's acceptable to me to postpone it, but I would like to have 3 minutes or 2 minutes or a minute or 30 seconds to make a comment. 30 seconds would be plenty, actually. I just am concerned that we keep bringing this up and not talking about it. And it's a very important subject. And I really, the staff response that we got, this draft letter we got, I found almost insulting. It assumes that we don't know anything. We do know something about mental health, and we know something about the mental health system. And I am very concerned that we still have not gotten an answer about what services are actually going to be available in Albany. And I know that there's discussion about the mobile crisis team. We really need mobile crisis services, and the only way we can get them in any reasonable way is to buy them from Berkeley. And once again, I think we're making a terrible mistake by allowing us to be shut out of services in Berkeley. While the services in Berkeley for mental health are improving, and the county services are getting worse, and they're not available to the people in Albany. So I consider this a crisis.
Okay, thank you. I need a motion to extend the meeting at this point. Enough to take a vote on if we're postponing, probably, and do future agenda items.
I move we extend the meeting by 6 minutes.
6 minutes. Is there a second? Commissioner Lindsay seconds. Roll call, please, Laura.
Commissioner Bainan,
No.
Commissioner Garrett Penguilla,
Abstain.
Commissioner Grossman,
Yes.
Commissioner Cannoli,
No, I think it should be probably 4.
Commissioner Lindsay,
Yes. Well, let's try to do it in 4.
Commissioner Zapata,
Yes, let's do it in 4 though.
and Chair Dostie.
Yes. Okay. And so we have a motion to defer, to postpone 6-4. Do we have a second?
Yes.
Commissioner Cannoli.
Yeah.
Commissioner Cannoli, I think, got the second. A vote, please, Laura.
Commissioner Bainan,
Yes.
Commissioner Garrett Penguilla,
I mean, I could be on this meeting all night. I mean, I still want to talk about everything. Abstain.
Commissioner Grossman,
Yes.
Commissioner Cannoli,
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsay,
Yes.
Commissioner Zapata,
Yes.
Chair Dostie.
Yes. Okay, and that will be on our next meeting agenda. And I will say that it would be nice to be able to at least make a recommendation to council, to direct staff to give us actual information. So we certainly will be doing, having it as an item with hopefully motions next time. But at least this time it got on the agenda because we had an update, even though it is basically what we already knew. Future agenda items. Commissioner Lindsay.
I recommend, it's not a motion, that the number 1 item be prioritizing so that we can pick, say, the first 3 things we're going to do as a group and get on them. And then, and as we knock things off, we can pick, we can pick up more things. But let's be really focused and get stuff done. And that number 2 should really be the mental health services update that we have kept postponing. So that's what I have for future agenda items.
Okay. Anything else? Future agenda items. Commissioner Grossman?
Yes, I'd like to see us finalize the aging in place report and getting that off and the recommendation to council. I think that doesn't preclude going on and dealing with the question of disabled people who are living in Albany in place.
And integrating that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that we might have something from staff next time just to set expectations. Commissioner Garrett Penguilla?
Yeah, which future agenda items?
Yes.
This one right here is a quarterly report from Albany Cares or Hope. We haven't got the second quarter report yet. And what happened to all the money and the homeless people that were housed? Golden Gate Fields on the future agenda item. And showers, the shower program. And the laundry program, please.
Okay.
Thank you. And I would like to add future presentations if I get some people to do a presentation. I just want to make that possible, please, like Paul this evening.
Any other future agenda items? Seeing
School
none.
zones, I don't know if that's our thing, but school zones.
Okay. Seeing nothing else. Calling for public comment for 5 seconds. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Didn't think so, but thank you for attending, the 2 of you who are here still. And that concludes our meeting. We are adjourned. Our next meeting will be Wednesday, July 7th, a Wednesday, because of a Monday holiday. It will not be a Tuesday. It will be a Wednesday, July 7th at 7 p.m. Thank you all very much. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.